Now, one of the moments we've all been waiting for through the entire Shakespeare Authorship Symposium, I'd like to introduce you to the chairwoman of our video contest committee, Julie Sandys Bianchi, with this year's winners.
Hi y'all, I'm Julie Sandys Bianchi. Greetings from my kitchen here in Nashville, Tennessee. After the passing this year of our dear colleague Tom Renier, who founded the public outreach project that is the video contest for the SOF, I assumed the chairmanship of our 2020 video contest committee. In a few moments, we're going to view the 3 prize-winning videos that were chosen by public voting online from a field of 10 finalists that had been selected by the committee out of all the entries we received from across the US and around the world. The topic posed for this year's video makers was to answer the question, who wrote Shakespeare? And I'm pleased to announce that one of the people who provided the best answer to our question and the winner of the 3rd place cash prize of $250 is Jonathan Freeman for The Mulberry Tree.
Hello, I'm Jono Freeman. An authorship story. When William Shakespeare died in 1616, it was strangely not an event. Nobody travelled to Stratford to pay their last respects. There were no lamenting poems, no eulogies, no national tears. 1664 arrived.
It's 100 years after the birth of England's greatest writer.
And?
Yeah!
No one noticed. And again, no one is on record of travelling to Stratford-upon-Avon to learn what could be learned. More years passed. Then, slowly, there was a reawakening to the brilliance contained in Shakespeare's works. But by then, nothing could be found to demonstrate that there had ever been a great author in the town of Stratford.
Apparently no one thought to protect or preserve anything.
But once these seekers, these pilgrims, these worshippers of Shakespeare started coming to Stratford, they didn't stop. And they kept asking, wanting, demanding.
What was the little town to do? There was money to be made here. But unless something exciting was found or invented, soon word would spread that nothing remained here of our once great poet.
There happened to be, in the back of Shakespeare's former house, a beautiful old mulberry tree. The tree was over 100 years old.
It must have been put in the ground around the time when Shakespeare lived in the house.
The last memorial of immortal Shakespeare.
And now, every visitor was pointed to the tree.
It worked!
It worked?
Unfortunately, the owner of Shakespeare's former property and of the mulberry tree was a reverend by the name of
Francis Gastrell. It's likely he detested twigs, leaves, and branches broken off, his lawn and garden damaged.
One night, without warning, the good reverend
went out the back and chopped down the tree.
Story should have ended there. But businessman, carpenter and clockmaker
Thomas Sharp acquired the tree and started carving wood Shakespeare mementos.
Shakespeare was no longer an actor, a theatre manager, or even a mythical playwright and poet.
Shakespeare had become divine, and Stratford-upon-Avon was his shrine.
I always wondered about that mulberry tree business too. Next, for the next video, earning the 2nd most votes in our online polling is the $500 prize-winning video. For second place, Interview with a Stratfordian by Jonathan Dixon.
Well, thank you, Professor, for joining me for my video for the Shakespeare Oxford Fellowship video contest. Oxfordians are jerks. They're like Holocaust deniers. Well, on the subject of Oxfordians, what do you make of all the parallels between incidents in the life of Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford, and the works of Shakespeare? Yes, I always tell my students, don't fall into the trap of supposing the works are autobiographical. That is an illusion. Shakespeare always kept himself well disguised. The man isn't visible. He didn't insert his own opinions or comment on the topical controversies of the day. Say, what do you think about the recent research into the illegal grain hoarding that Shakespeare of Stratford did during a time of famine? It has given new force to the old arguments about the contemporaneity of the grain hoarding scenes in Coriolanus. Well, do you think then that all the parallels between the character of Polonius in Hamlet and the real-life Lord Burleigh might display contemporaneity too? Burleigh was Oxford's father-in-law. Don't be drawn into the trap of assuming the works are autobiographical. But you just said about the Oxfordians are conspiracy theorists. They approach Hamlet via fantastically cryptic supposed parallels between Lord Burleigh and the character of Polonius. Weren't traditional scholars pointing out those parallels 50 years before there even were Oxfordians? Well, plain old intuition inclines me to the view that the dramatist who anglicized the name of the historical Amleth, Prince of Denmark, was a certain Stratfordian who named his son after his friend Hamlet Sadler. Well, actually, Shakespeare's son and friend were named Hamnet, not Hamlet. But so now it is permissible to look for autobiographical elements in Shakespeare's works. So what do you think then about the fact that in that same play, Hamlet is captured by pirates who recognize him and release him when they realize who he is, and they leave him stripped naked on the beach, and that exact same thing happened to Edward de Vere, the Earl of Oxford? Don't be drawn into the trap of assuming the works are autobiographical. By the way, what do you think about the use of the phrase hate away in the sonnet 145? It's a pun on the name of Anne Hathaway, Shakespeare's wife. It would make sense for this sonnet to be about her because she was the rock on which he relied throughout his life. So now the works are autobiographical. So as long as we're on elements in the sonnets, what do you think about the fact that Shakespeare repeatedly refers to himself as old, lame, poor, and in disgrace, when none of those things apply to Shakespeare of Stratford, but they all apply to Edward de Vere? Don't be drawn into the trap of supposing the works are autobiographical. Shakespeare kept himself well disguised. The man was invisible. Oxfordians are jerks. They're dogmatic and abusive. Doubting Shakespeare's authorship is a form of mental illness.
You know, Jonathan was our second place winner last year too, so I guess you can say he's batting 2 for 2. So, I'm now, because we're going to be presenting the first place prize for $1,000. I'm asking for a drum roll. For garnering the most votes in our online polling, and for assembling a delightful supporting cast, Greg Buse has won the first place for his video, The Earl of Oxford's March Remixed.
Well, let me introduce myself. I'm Edward de Vere. You might know me better by the pen name Shakespeare. My people are the oldest British nobles in the mix. We came with Will.i.am the Conqueror in 1066. I was maxing and relaxing outside Castle Hedingham when a couple of things went down with my fam. So I was raised in William Cecil's house. That guy was stiff as wood. Satirized him as Polonius as only I could. big librarian, a daughter named Anne, and he was pretty much Elizabeth's Game of Thrones hand. I was married to his daughter, Anne. It was kinda rough and rocky, and before too long I ran to travel Italy and France, knew the languages of courses. It's how I read the untranslated words that were my sources. I was in Venice, saw a painting of Adonis, and just like in the poem I wrote, he wore a little bonnet. On my way back home like Hamlet, set up on by pirates, left me naked on the beach like him. This isn't rocket science. At Gad's Hill, my mates and I robbed the Queen's receivers, just like in Henry IV Part 1, and you're still non-believers. The bed trick has now become theatrical cliche. Well, it was pulled on me and it's in 4 of my plays. £1,000 annuity from QE1. That's like $1 million a year today. That's right, son. Didn't have to account for what I did with the money. So let me fill you in, cause it may seem kinda funny. At Fisher's Folly gathered university wits, mentored Lily, Monday, Nash and Green, a playwriting blitz. Led a literary movement, brought the Renaissance to Britain, revitalized the language with the plays that I had written. Taught Brits about their history, bolstered national pride, at a time with Queen and country under threat from all sides. Wrote the plays and poems and sonnets, didn't even get beheaded. Named me buried where my body is, cause I don't need no credit. Nothing is truer than truth, which is...
Why's he always got to drag us into it? I don't know, but it's hurtful.
It really is.
Congratulations to all the prize winners, and a big thank you to all of you who submitted videos to our 2020 contest. Be sure to monitor our Facebook page for coming announcements about the video contest for 2021. The quality and number of our contest submissions has been increasing every year, so we hope that many more of you will consider making a video of your own to join in on the fun.